Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Port Angeles, on another beautiful Thursday evening. The sky is ever lighter each day, a little bit longer. Pretty soon I'll be able to open up this curtain and keep it open the entire gathering, because otherwise you see my reflection when I'm in that window and I look like Shiva. I've got all these arms when I'm talking. I've suddenly got all these arms. And so I said, well, that was distracting. So pretty soon you'll get to look out the window when you're sitting there, the beautiful sky and the beautiful trees. Soon, it's coming. We have an opening song that's in your program. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. I invite you to join us. Use this time as we sing to ground, to open, to let go of the day, and to remind yourself of who you really are, a light in this world. We are a light in this world. Sometimes it feels kind of dark out there, even though the skies are getting lighter. And each one of us can be that positive light, that positive ripple, that place of possibility and potential that can ripple out and bring some light into the darkness. A tiny candle dispels the darkness. So we can each be one of those. Just one individual tiny candle, and we all come together, and pretty soon it's like a stadium, all lit up. So we start our gatherings with singing, as we did, and also a reading of our vision and our mission, which is available in your program on this little handout. I invite you to join us if you choose. We do this every week to remind ourselves who we are and why we do what we do. Our vision. We are an open, safe, creative, and spiritual community where we experience divine love and connection every day. Our mission. Through spiritual, artistic, and social gatherings, we experience and express divine love. Our intentions create ripples of compassion into the world. And that is true. Just one announcement for today. We have a workshop coming up on March 22nd, Crystal Bowl Sound Bath. You'll see this flyer on our Facebook page and also on our webpage, www.cslpa.org. We've got a lovely workshop with crystal bowls coming up in April. There's 2 workshops happening. In May, there's another workshop. So we're really getting our calendar nicely filled up. It's great because with a workshop, you can just drop in. It's a one-off. You don't have to commit to 6 or 8 weeks. Eventually, we'll be doing those classes, though. So keep your eyes peeled. We just want to grow a little bit more before we dive a little deeper into our classwork. I made a boo-boo in the program. It says Reverend Dr. Clancy Blakemore, but actually it's practitioner Shirley Grace who's going to join us doing an opening reading, a brief time of silence, and then a beautiful invocation and opening prayer.
Our reading this evening is from Brené Brown, who is an author and shame researcher. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they are never weakness. So take that in and just really embody it.
Ding.
In this moment, I breathe in the awareness that God is absolutely all there is, right now, in this moment, in every moment. From the beginning of time until beyond the end of time, God is. And I know that God, in its desire to know itself and to express more fully, chooses to show up as me and as each one of us. We are God dancing as us, celebrating itself as us. And knowing that truth, I claim that it is safe to show up exactly as who we are in every moment. For who we are is the divine in form. We are God's hands, God's eyes, God's ears, God's mouth. It is so good to remind ourselves of this truth. We are the divine in form, and it is such a joy to rest in that knowingness and to relax into being. We do not have to push. We do not have to struggle. We do not have to strive. We can just be ourselves and allow the good to flow into and through us. Life is good, and I give such thanks for this knowing as I release my word into the law, knowing it is done right here, right now. And so it is.
So it is.
So when Catherine and I first met, it was a divine meeting, orchestrated so beautifully by the divine. And the song we're going to sing tonight is one of the very first songs we sang together. I think it was our second song, actually. And I am really thrilled to be able to do it again. This song was inspired by the 23rd Psalm.
Though I walk with you through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness, surely your goodness and your mercy will follow all of my days. Though you walk with me in the valley of the shadow of death, thy rod and staff, they give me comfort. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness, surely your goodness and your mercy will follow all my days. When you walk with me, you preparest a table before my enemies, and anoint my head with your oil. My cup
Just breathe that in. Thank you. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. There are some songs that call for applause and some songs that just call for breath. And that's one of those. And I remember a time when the 23rd Psalm didn't resonate with me at all. I didn't grow up Catholic or Christian or Presbyterian or, the 23rd Psalm had really no meaning for me. And then I did a workshop years ago where we rewrote the 23rd Psalm in our own words so that it really resonated with us. And I then heard a Bobby McFerrin version of the 23rd Psalm, which was awesome. And then I heard Catherine's version of the 23rd Psalm. And again, I felt this deeper connection with these words. One of my long ago ministers, I still remember vividly saying, we talk about walking through the valley of the shadow of the death. That doesn't mean put a condo there. That means you keep walking through it. You don't stop and have a vacation in the valley of the shadow of death. Because we all go through those times where it feels like we're deep in that valley. So tonight I want to talk about valuable vulnerability. That's hard to say. I say that 3 times fast. Valuable vulnerability. And there was a time in my life where vulnerability was not on my radar. Much like the 23rd Psalm. Just not on my radar. Because we learn very early to tough things out. Gotta tough it out. Be tough. Be strong. Boys here, big boys don't cry. Girls here, it's okay to cry, but do it in private. Or we get some messages about stuff, about expressing. You're too emotional. And so we clamp down. We close off. We get tough. We get a stiff upper lip. We show nothing. And all of those are effective protection in certain situations. There are places and times where maybe it was not safe to reveal yourself, to be vulnerable, to be authentic. And we've all had an experience or two of being in someone's presence where it was unsafe. Whether we're a little kid or a grown-up. Where this is not somebody that I can really be that at ease with. And yet, we then begin to have a habit of keeping that protective shell around ourselves, and especially around our heart, and especially around things like love and family. We wall ourselves off until then we can't feel anything. And that's not good either. So there's some middle place that carries a lot of power. It carries a lot of power. Brene Brown, this author that was in the reading earlier, she's kind of everywhere now, so I'm going to assume that many people watching this and sitting here have heard of her. But what fascinated me about when I first discovered her was that she's a shame researcher. Who researches shame? That's really interesting to me. And she did that because of her own life and her own path, and how she began to discover the difference between guilt and shame and how that impacts us, how that closes us off. The best definition I've heard from her is guilt means I did something bad and I can do something about that. If I recognize that I did something bad, maybe I can make amends or atone or, apologize or fix it, maybe. Shame is I am bad, and that's unfixable. If that's how I am, like I'm right-handed, well, if I'm blonde, well, maybe less than I was as a kid, maybe somebody fixed that for me, but, this is my skin color, I am this. Well, if it's something that I believe that I am, it's impossible to shift. And so then we carry that around with us. And that's a mistake, because none of us are bad. None of us. We've all just made mistakes at one time or another. We've all had the guilt of those mistakes at one time or another. Guilt gives us awareness. So she talks a lot about shame, and she talks a lot about vulnerability. And I love this quote. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage, because stepping into that vulnerable place feels very brave. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable. They're rarely comfortable. Not just aren't always, but rarely are truth and courage comfortable. But they are never weakness. And that's where I think we get messed up. We think that if we're vulnerable, we're weak. And that is completely the opposite. Being willing and able to be vulnerable in many circumstances is actually a deep sign of personal strength, personal power. The more we begin to step into our personal power, the more vulnerable we are willing to be, the more authentic we are willing to be. Because when we're stepping into our personal power, nobody can knock us off of who we really are. We don't give them that power anymore. We refuse to turn it over. When we have had this protective shell around us, it's usually based in some sort of fear. Fear that I won't be loved, fear that I'll be rejected, fear that I'll be hurt, fear that there will be some pain or suffering involved. And I saw a great acronym this week about fear. We've heard lots of different ones, false evidence appearing real and lots of things like that. But I heard two things this week that I thought were good. Fear can mean forget everything and run. That really resonates with me, because when I'm in fear, this is never going to work, it's never going to turn out the way I want, I may as well just give up. My first instinct is always to run. I don't, but, somehow I don't, but it's always my first instinct. Rarely is it to fight. I do get defensive sometimes, but mostly when it's something that's really important to me, my first instinct is run. I'm just going to leave, I'm going to get out of here, it's never going to work, I may as well give up. Forget everything and run. I love that. The opposite, which is my new favorite acronym, face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. They go low, we go high. We rise up. We rise up into that sense of our own personal power, our authentic truth. And then we can face anything when we do that. The scariest stuff. Vulnerability is risky and messy and clumsy, especially when we are first stepping into being authentically vulnerable. It's very clumsy. We feel awkward. Like, I don't know how to talk about the thing I want to talk about. I don't know how to articulate what's going on with me, and that bothers me. I want to be able to be, great and really smooth and elegant in the way that I talk about whatever's happening. But usually it's clumsy and messy. And we get to be willing to be that. I vividly remember wanting to be very graceful and elegant. As a child, I wanted to be a graceful and elegant woman. And most of the time, I'm sort of messy and clumsy. And beautiful and elegant and all these other things. But I had to be willing to be clumsy and sometimes messy, to not always be articulate. Vulnerability is risky and clumsy and messy and beautiful. Beautiful. When someone is willing to be vulnerable in our presence, I'm getting choked up just thinking about that. When someone trusts us enough to be vulnerable, to say, I don't know what to do, I feel lost, I'm scared, I'm confused. That's a powerful place to be. And to be able to be a witness. Not to try to fix them or change them or have them be different, but to be a witness. And just say, I'm here. I'm right here. And I hear you. That's very powerful. Brene Brown also said, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And birthplace is messy, right? Birth is messy. It is a place of change and creativity and innovation. When we're vulnerable, we're willing to take the risk. We're willing to leap off the cliff and trust that the net will appear. It is, I think, vital to our own well-being to find a place or a person or even an activity or experience. If you can't find a place or a person, at least find an activity or an experience where you can be completely yourself. Completely yourself. You know, the dance like nobody's watching. Dance like your microwave isn't watching. Sorry, that was a political aside. You know, to be in that space where you feel unfettered, completely free, authentically yourself. We all have hobbies that we enjoy that time disappears in. And if we are really being authentic and vulnerable, we are able to share those things with the world, with maybe one or two people. We're able to share our passions. But I really think it's vital to find some place, some one or two people or a community where you can show up just as you are, messy, clumsy, beautiful, and be loved, and be enough, and be completely accepted without anything needing to be different. It doesn't mean we don't grow. It doesn't mean we just stop. But now there's some spaciousness, there's some room for that innovation and that creativity to come out. We need to find a place where we can express all of our lovely bits and all of our gnarly bits. I like the word gnarly. I mean, it's used in surfer lingo a long time ago, but when I think of gnarly, I think of those big lumps on the side of a tree. A gnarl, K-N-A-R-L, a gnarl. So again, as I do, I looked up that word, and it's the calloused rough patches that are especially on trees, a rough, knotty protuberance, especially on a tree. And I picture that all of us have some gnarls, internally and externally, which are the rough patches that we've grown through. Like we go through the valley of the shadow of death, we've grown through that gnarly rough patch. And there's a little leftover evidence of that, and it's beautiful. It's like having a scar, you know, oh yeah, there's my scar, this is how I survived through this experience. We all have internal and external scars, gnarls. It's also, a gnarl can be the cover that we've put over the buttons that nobody can push anymore. They've become deactivated because we allowed a protective coating to come over them, not as a way to keep us safe, but just to deactivate those buttons. People say, oh, they really push my buttons. Well, we installed the button. We can deinstall the button. We can make it inactive. So, you know, no matter what this person says or what they come at you with, there's no, it's like a wisp of smoke. There's no power. There's nothing to push against. We get to deactivate those by being vulnerable, by being authentic, by being willing, by finding a space, a place to do that. When we expose our true self, who we really are in all our glory, we also expose our defense mechanisms that we may have used in the past to deflect that feeling of shame. I'm going to be vulnerable and fess up to one of the ways I noticed that I deflected some shame in my life. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away, I had another marriage, another life. And in that relationship, I was a cheater. Twice. It was a long relationship in my 20s, and I was a cheater. And I carried a lot of internal shame about that. And then I discovered in the process of my time with this person that they also had been a cheater the whole time, pretty much that we'd been together. I had a little dip in the pool here and a dip in the pool here, but this was a long, like 8-year cheating. And I completely got to shuffle off my shame by saying, well, they did it the whole time. And I must have known subconsciously. So my shame is okay. My thing that I did that was bad is okay because they did it first. How often do we deflect our own shame by latching on to what somebody else did? Well, you did it first. I mean, it's like being a kid again with your brother or your sister. Well, he started it. And your parents say, you end it. You don't have to play that game. By saying, well, he did it first, therefore, I'm not a bad person. But I still carried that shame for a long, long time. And I still carried the blame I placed on him for a long, long time. Now I can look back and see exactly how the whole thing unfolded for both of our beautiful, fabulous, awesome good. I couldn't see that then. All I could see was shame and blame, and now I get to notice how quickly, if my husband says something and I feel a little sense of uncomfortableness, discomfort, defense, how quickly I want to say, well, you. No, just be quiet. Hear what needs to be said. I don't have to defend. If I deactivate my shame buttons, I don't have to defend myself. I can just be present to what's going on in me without that sense of having to push it off. I met a woman a while back who at 45 was going through early onset Alzheimer's. That's, we think about that, that's tragic, that's very young. She had kids and a husband, and she knew what was coming. And I worked at a wellness center at the time, and there were all kinds of great services there, and one of them was, personal grooming, waxing and such. And she said to her husband, I don't care what happens to me, I don't care what you do, but you keep my monthly lip waxing appointment because I'm not going to be the crazy old lady with the hairy lip. Now there's a point to that story. It's not just random. It occurred to me how vulnerable that was. To be able to say, here's something I really need. It may seem stupid and unimportant to other people in the scheme of things, but this is something that's important to me. If I'm not in a place where I can do for myself, is there someone that I can ask to do for me? The embarrassing, messy, uncomfortable, personal things that sometimes are required to care for each other. Who's going to pluck our chin hairs? Who can we talk to about that? Can we be vulnerable enough to ask? I cared for my husband's mom and grandma. I've talked about this before. I got to be very personal and very intimate with these two women, and they let me. They didn't get ashamed or embarrassed or say, no, I can't possibly have someone do that for me. They allowed me the honor of being vulnerable and letting me care for some of their personal needs that they couldn't do anymore. And that made a huge impact on me in my own willingness to be vulnerable, to ask for what I need, to take the risk. The embarrassing, humiliating things that sometimes we need to ask of another. And if we don't have somebody, a lot of us don't have somebody, then I think it's vital that we find someone, or several someones, or hire someone that we can trust who will care for us, even if they don't love us, but that we're willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I need some help. A friend of mine recently told me a story about helping someone, and it was a really uncomfortable situation. And this person said, I don't know how to be present while this is going on. I don't know what to do here. And someone wise said, that's all you need to do. Show up and say, I don't know what to do here, and I'm here. I don't know what to do, and I'm right here, present with you. And what to do, it will make itself known, if there's anything. Spend time with those people Find those people, your tribe, who don't lose themselves in a crisis, who can say, I don't know what to do right now, and I'm here. Cultivate those relationships. Not the relationships where you're always the helper and the fixer and the saver. Not the relationships where they're always demeaning life and being cynical and talking about the ugly parts of the world and life. Yes, they're there. In this world, where we are the light, we are the light, we are a light in this world. There are other lights. They're out there. They're right here. They're present and available for us. We can become a magnet for those relationships that buoy us up. Those people that don't fall apart in a crisis. And then we can be, sometimes we do fall apart. It's really handy to have somebody who doesn't. My dad always said, if one of you goes crazy and the other one doesn't, you can't both go crazy at the same time. If you're in a relationship or even in a parent-child relationship, if you both go crazy at the same time, that's a problem. So if one of you stays sane just long enough to be present for the other, that's all that's needed. Excuse me, I got a tickle. See, I got all choked up talking about that. Vulnerability is deeply valuable to our well-being. Again, maybe not everywhere, but at least somewhere. So maybe that's your homework this week. Make some notes. If you journal, do it there. Where can I be vulnerable? Where can I test or try out, tiptoe into the pool of vulnerability? That might be safer, that might be a place of acceptance and joy and love. Maybe. As an experiment. Take a breath. I absolutely know that there is this power and this presence, this light and this life, this love and this law, this thing we call God or energy or peace, the one, the source, divine life, it doesn't matter. It just is. I absolutely know that I am all of that, expressing as me, uniquely as and through and in me. And I know that is true for every being everywhere. That the divine life lives in all of us. And I absolutely know that no matter what is going on, that we are surrounded by this deep love, infused by this deep love. And so no matter what, we are safe. We are guided, guarded, and protected in every single moment, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it doesn't look like it. There is this powerful presence that is somehow evolving through our life for our good. And so I claim vulnerability today. I claim the willingness to be authentic, to be messy and clumsy and beautiful, and to trust and know that I know the right places to do that for my highest and best expression, and for that of all other beings. There is always enough, and divine good and divine right action and order are making its way through every situation. I am grateful to know this in the marrow of my bones, and to absolutely release this prayer, knowing that there is no time and space in God. Therefore, it is done now. It was done even before I spoke. My cup runneth over, and thou art with me as you walk, as me, through all my days. And so it is.
It is.
Take another breath. This is our time for conscious giving. We have a prayer that's in our program that we say every week. If you're choosing to give tangibly to this vision and this mission, this particular place, I am grateful. We are grateful. If you give in intangible ways, we love that too. So I invite you to put them all in your heart.
You can grab the little bowl here.
And we'll say this conscious giving prayer together. I am open to give. I am open to receive. I am grateful to be in the flow of life, through and as me. Invite Catherine back up. Would you take that, pass that for me? Thank you. We have a closing song called All the Good. It's got two parts, same words both times. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, and the world needs all the good I can do. All of it. All that I can do. So you'll pick it up pretty quick.
Declaration here. How can you make a donation?
Oh, if you are not present and you would like to make a donation to our vision and mission, you go to our website, www.cslpa.org, and you find the donate button on the front page. It's super easy. That song a couple more times this month. We do the same beginning song and the same ending song each month, so that by the time we're done at the end, we got that sucker nailed. We invite you to join us for tea and snacks in the other room. Thank you for being here with us. I am very grateful. Thank you for being willing, showing up. That's a big deal.